Good morning, race fans. Welcome back to another edition of Can We Have a Single Normal Race Ever? Like one, just one. This weekend we had the Formula 1 2025 Singapore Grand Prix, and folks, I think the championship is finally spicing up. Like, yeah, today's race was maybe not the most interesting, but the implications of it, the ramifications, the plot thickens, the thick plottens, and I am here for it. So let's review how it went down here at the Race Day Cafe. Max Verstappen absolutely decimated the Nordschleife, winning his first official title in a GT3 car in NLS with his teammate Chris Lallam. The fact that Max won a race in a Ferrari this year before either of the actual Ferrari drivers in F1 is something. We also saw Roman Grosjean, yes, that Roman Grosjean, returned to an F1 car for the first time since 2020 for a TPC session with Haas. Ayo Komatsu reprised his role as his race engineer for the day, and Grosjean admitted that he cried because everybody was cheering him on. Oh, so beautiful. It was just a very touching moment, and I'm sure we all cried tears of joy. But unfortunately, this weekend we also cried tears of sadness, because last week we also lost the lovely Roscoe Hamilton. I don't recommend that you watch the video that Lewis posted on TikTok, because you will probably cry. But I think it's safe to say that it was a sad day, not just for Lewis, but for everyone in the F1 community. Rest in peace, buddy. You were not just a good boy, you were the best boy. We will all miss you. Okay, that's enough for the sad stuff. Let's get into the Singapore weekend. In FP1, Alonso had the fastest lap of the day, so basically we all knew that Alonso was gonna get pole position, the race win, a Grand Slam, the world title, next year's world title too, just cuz. Also, Norris and Leclerc crashed in the pit lane due to an unsafe release from the Ferrari. I am so annoyed that that was not a grid penalty. Like, I know it's just practice, but come on, that was the most unsafe release to ever unsafe release. I'm sure a lot of you are feeling like qualifying was not the most interesting, but to be fair, we just came back from like 27 red flags in Baku, so I think we might have a bit of recency bias going on. I'd say this was a pretty standard run-of-the-mill qualifying, well, except for George absolutely decimating the competition. I doubt anyone had predicted that George would get the pole, but then again, no one ever expects George Russell. Other notable things: Gasly crashed at the end of Q1, another Alpine disaster class, an incredible Ollie Behrman in Q3, and the FIA launched an investigation on like 5 drivers at the same time, only for none of them to get penalized. What a waste of my time. They also tried this new thing where they interviewed all the 3 top drivers at the same time. I think it was the most awkward thing I've ever watched. But I will say, not Oscar was funny, so maybe it can stay. Let's move on to the race now. Lights out and away we go, and George Russell gets a clean start and gets away from Verstappen, despite the Dutchman being on softs. But then, surprise, surprise, it's Lando Norris with a steel chair. Lando has an incredible start, catches up to Oscar, and then has some wheel-to-wheel contact with his teammate, which could have ended really badly. And Leclerc also has an amazing start and puts himself right behind Piastri. And then the McLaren drama starts. God, we really can't get a single lap in without some papaya rules thing happening, huh? Oscar Piastri puts the soccer player crying over a foul tactic and complains about the radio about how he should be given the position back because Lando hit him. I'm gonna call a little timeout and discuss this whole thing briefly here. Not gonna lie, at first I was kind of mortified watching this. Give you back the position? Girl, you're literally racing. The one time Lando finally does something gutsy and I'm hearing it's unfair. But then we added to the drama because it turns out Lando had actually had contact with Max Verstappen ahead first and gotten front wing damage from it. And then he hit Oscar because he needed to get out of Max's way. So Lando had very little choice here. Eventually they decide, rightfully, not to swap the cars, but Oscar still complains that it's unfair. Personally, I don't agree. And low-key, it was a bit embarrassing to watch him get so worked up over what was clearly a racing incident in the opening lap. But the way I see it, Oscar's not complaining about F1's general rules. He's complaining about McLaren's internal rules. He's basically saying, if I had to give Lando back the position in Monza, why is Lando not giving me the position back now? If it was any other team, he'd have no justification in complaining. But because it's McLaren and McLaren has these stupid ass rules, it makes sense that he's upset that they're not applying them consistently. It seemed like it was something that the team had previously discussed and it was not being honored. So basically, I think we can say it's yet again McLaren's fault for stirring shit up, as per usual. Anyway, timeout over. Let's move on. There was a yellow flag at one point, but they were just messing with us, unfortunately. Just a little FIA prank. They put up this graphic at one point about a battle for first place when Max was 5 seconds away from George. Is the battle in the room with us? Around lap 18, they called Lando to pit to undercut Max, but it turns out to be a good old bluff. It's interesting that when they're bluffing, they always say box to undercut so-and-so instead of just box. Something to look out for in the future. Anyway, it doesn't really matter because Max has to pit anyway to get rid of the softs. And he has kind of a slow pit stop and he gives this radio saying, "I'll try, mate, but everything is working against me this race." Oh my god, my life is so hard. I hate everything. I need to go put some eyeliner on and listen to My Chemical Romance. Honestly, no joke, Max would slay so hard if he put on some eyeliner. Later, the people on the mediums are starting to pit, and McLaren asks Norris if he wants Piastri to have the first stop. And Lando says, yeah, no. Oh my god. Lando's acting like a real racing driver. Thank you, F1 gods. This is beautiful. So Lando pits, and it goes very well. In the next lap, Oscar pits, and it goes disastrously. Then we have Alonso, who has an even worse pit stop because the tire gun got stuck and it cost him a whopping 9.2 seconds. Alonso's bad luck truly is relentless, but it did lead to, if you speak to me every lap, I will disconnect the radio, which is just iconic. Oh, I also want to note this cool overtake that Ollie Behrman did on Alex Albon. Remember when Ollie Behrman was saying ciao every time he overtook someone? What happened to that? A few laps later, we get a battle for 9th place between Stroll, Sainz, and Behrman, in which Stroll somehow is still on softs from the beginning of the race. Maybe we need to crown a new tire whisperer around here. And since there's nothing going on at the front of the pack, we're treated to this beautiful battle between Alonso and Hadjar. Delicious. Finally some good fucking food. After that, Lando starts to get closer to Max Verstappen, and just when we think we're gonna have a battle, Norris goes off track and loses almost a second to Max. This is definitely not foreshadowing for something later. We go right back to nothing happening at the front, so we go all the way to the back of the grid where the girls are fighting. There's a crazy battle involving the two Saubers, the two Alpines, Ocon and Tsunoda, low-key the usual suspects. People almost take each other out. Hulkenberg breaks his front wing. It's a circus out here. Guys, you know that you don't get any points below P10, right? You don't need to go this hard. Later on, Hulkenberg spins and nearly hits the wall and a yellow flag comes out. Oh my god, finally a safety car. Psych! Nico just gets right back in. This is utter woke nonsense. Anyway, now Lando is close to Max again and they're having to battle it out in so much traffic. Manhattan at rush hour looks like a suburb next to this. Also, Ferrari has been kind of quiet this whole race, but right now they've decided to bring out their master plan. Lewis has a free pit stop, so they put him on softs to see if he can catch Antonelli. Genius plan if it works, honestly, so we'll check back in on that. And as Lando and Max's fight continues, we hear a radio telling Isaac to confirm you're clear on the plan regarding Max and Lando. Why are they making it sound like Isaac is supposed to crash into Lando or something? Honestly, I wouldn't put it past Red Bull. I think the plan is just to let them both through though, which is a lot less interesting. Hamilton is now within DRS of Antonelli, and I'm ready to call this a Ferrari strategy masterclass. But then Lewis's brakes stop working and he starts losing time like crazy. Not a single good weekend with Ferrari, man. So Lewis evidently swaps places with Charles again. And Norris is ultimately unable to pass Max Verstappen, so George Russell wins the Singapore Grand Prix with Max Verstappen in P2 and Lando Norris in P3, which effectively confirms McLaren as the 2025 Constructors' Champions. Very nice, McLaren. Very good. Now let them race, or else. Also, before the race, Alonso nearly overtook Hamilton, but guess what F1's TV direction did about it? That's right, not show any of it. Which, I mean, is fine. It's not like I wanted to watch racing anyway. I mean, what do they think we watch car racing for? The racing? That's crazy, bro. Can you imagine? Let's just move on to my superlatives. This week's ace of the race is George Russell. Once again, George Russell did the hustle. Does anyone else remember that? Come on, Russell, do the hustle. No? Okay. First of all, hats off to George Russell for that qualifying. He was absolutely flying. And then in the race, he basically didn't put a foot wrong. He escaped Verstappen in the first few laps and then just had the nicest, calmest race. Probably even had a cup of tea with some scones or something. It is still beyond me why this man still doesn't have a contract for next year. Inconceivable. My honorable mention for ace of the race is Fernando Alonso. Magic Alonso! After Aston Martin saw that they were leading practice on Friday, they changed the setup because God forbid Alonso has a good car. But my man still gave everything he had to score some good points. He overtook twice, then he had the failed pit stop, dropped to 15th place, and then fought tooth and nail to recover to 8th place, which then became 7th place thanks to Lewis being penalized. Just El Padre doing Padre things. I didn't really have a very clear disgrace of the race, to be honest, so I guess I will say Oscar Piastri, because I am not enjoying the downward spiral that Piastri's on as of late. The whole situation at the start of the race was, frankly, kind of hard to watch. However, I am glad that something is happening to spice up this title fight, because it's been a little boring until now. I just wish it wasn't Oscar who was flopping, you know? I can't have my favorite title contender be embarrassing. For my dishonorable mention for disgrace of the race, Jesus Christ, the FOM. Did y'all know that we apparently missed 8 overtakes from Carlos Sainz? We also missed some amazing overtakes from Alonso, and they also didn't show at all how Lewis went off track 4 times, which warranted him the penalty. Never mind how he and Alonso finished 4/10ths off each other. Nah, we only care about McLaren being champions and also Lando being behind Max for 30 laps. They can tell me that there is no British bias in F1, but I'll believe it when I see it. This weekend's strategy masterclass goes to Williams. This weekend was looking grim for the team since both drivers got disqualified in quali. So Carlos started in P18 and Alex Albon from the pit lane. But by asking Alex to slow down Liam Lawson, it allowed Carlos to overcut the Racing Bulls and then do some overtakes, which put him in P10. So Williams' strategy allowed the team to snatch away 1 little point in a weekend that was destined to be a nightmare. So yeah, as always, go Williams. This weekend's underdog shoutout goes to Ollie Behrman. I think he honestly had a great weekend. Not only did he manage to qualify into Q3, which is rare enough for Haas, he also pulled a great undercut on Liam Lawson and almost finished P8 if it weren't for Alonso. So yeah, congrats to my little guy. My favorite team radio. I know that the I'll turn the radio off was really good, but another contender is Trophy for the Hero of Race. I can't tell if this was about himself or him being sarcastic about Hajar, but either way, it's funny as hell. Let's face it, F1 would be so boring without Alonso. He brings so much character into the sport. An obligatory drama queen crown goes to Oscar Piastri, because not only did he complain a bunch over the radio, he also apparently turned off his radio while Zach Brown was congratulating him on the constructors' win. That's crazy. You know how I said I needed Oscar to be the villain? It may be happening, and I am here to see it. So apparently the reason why Oscar did this is because he was told to shut down the car when he got to the pits, so he straight up didn't hear Zach Brown's message at all. Well, it was fun while it lasted, I guess. But then again, this information is coming from the race, so take it with a grain of salt. The best moment of the weekend, I think, is the fact that the Constructors' title is done and dusted, and also seeing that things are getting a little more difficult for McLaren, especially in weekends like this when Mercedes can also get in the mix and muddy things up even more. I'm hopeful that this is going to make the end of the season a lot more interesting, but in order to do that, I need everyone to lock in. The worst moment of the weekend, I think, definitely was Roscoe Hamilton's passing. I'm not going to linger on it too much, but I just thought it was a very sad moment. I mean, Roscoe was very beloved by a lot of fans. All I can do is wish Lewis the best. Send a little bit of happiness and joy his way, which clearly he seems to need in this moment. Overall, I'm giving this race a 3 out of 5 stars. To be fair, the FOM's stellar broadcasting abilities did not help, but still, can the cars please go back to being smaller? It's ruining Marina Bay. No, not like that. That's more like it, thank you. Lastly, let's look at our prediction bingo. And as usual, we've added nothing here. These are really looking a lot more unlikely the more time goes by, but I'm confident we can at least get the Lando Grand Slam at some point. But only if McLaren locks in. Okay, I'm done, sorry. But what did you think of the race? Let me know in the comments below. I'll see you all next weekend with something fun, hopefully. I have something planned, but we will see. And after that, I'll see you all for Austin, Texas. Stay fueled and enjoy some good sleep next time around. Oh, wait, you're not in North America? Oh, well then, good luck.